I've never been the same since that night. I still wake up in a cold sweat, heart racing, the memories flooding back like a nightmare I can't escape. It all started when I moved to the small town of Eldridge, a place that seemed perfect for a fresh start. The locals were friendly, the scenery picturesque, and the rent was cheap. Little did I know that the house I rented at the end of Willow Lane had a dark history, one that would haunt me for the rest of my life. The first few weeks were uneventful. The house was old but charming, with creaky floorboards and a fireplace that crackled warmly. I spent my days unpacking and settling in, but there was something about the atmosphere that felt off. The air was thick, and sometimes I could swear I heard whispers echoing through the halls when the wind blew just right. One evening, while I was putting away some books in the attic, I discovered an old trunk buried under a pile of dusty blankets. Curiosity got the better of me, and I pried it open. Inside, I found a collection of strange items, yellowed photographs of a family, a tattered doll with one eye missing, and a journal. The journal belonged to a girl named Clara, who had lived in the house over 50 years ago. As I flipped through the pages, I learned about Clara's life, her dreams, her fears, and her gradual descent into madness. She wrote about hearing voices and seeing shadows that danced in the corners of her vision. The last entry sent chills down my spine. They're coming for me. I can feel them watching. I must hide. That night, I tried to brush it off as the ramblings of a disturbed mind, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I locked the attic door and went to bed, hoping to forget about Clara and her eerie journal, but sleep wouldn't come. I tossed and turned, haunted by the feeling that I wasn't alone. Around 3 a.m., I was jolted awake by a loud thud coming from the attic. My heart raced as I sat up, straining to listen. The sound repeated, followed by a soft, almost childlike giggle. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, my hands trembling. I knew I had locked the attic door, but something compelled me to investigate. As I crept up the stairs, the air grew colder and the whispers returned, faint but persistent. "Help us! Help us!" they seemed to chant. I reached the attic door and found it slightly ajar, as if someone or something had pushed it open. My instincts screamed at me to turn back, but I had to know what was happening. I stepped inside, the beam of my flashlight cutting through the darkness. The trunk was now wide open, its contents scattered across the floor. Panic surged through me. I hadn't left it like this. I felt a presence behind me and I turned quickly, but there was nothing, just shadows playing tricks in the dim light. Then I saw her, a small figure standing in the corner, shrouded in darkness. She looked like a little girl, her hair unkempt and her dress tattered. My heart dropped as I realized she resembled the girl in the photographs. "Clara?" I called out, but my voice trembled. The girl stepped forward, her face pale and hollow. "Help me," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "They won't let me go." I felt a chill run down my spine. I wanted to run, but I was rooted to the spot, unable to tear my gaze away from her. Suddenly the attic door slammed shut, plunging the room into darkness. I fumbled for my phone, but the light flickered and died. Panic set in as I heard the whispers grow louder, surrounding me. "Join us! Join us!" they echoed, and I felt cold fingers brush against my arm. In a surge of adrenaline, I pushed against the door, but it wouldn't budge. The whispers turned into frantic screams, and Clara's figure began to dissolve into the shadows. "You have to help me!" she cried, her voice filled with desperation. Just then, the door flew open and I stumbled back, falling to the floor. I scrambled out of the attic, heart pounding, and ran down the stairs. I burst through the front door, gasping for air as I stepped into the cool night. The moon hung high, casting an eerie glow over the house. I didn't stop running until I reached the edge of town. I collapsed on a bench trying to catch my breath. I couldn't believe what had just happened. Was it real? Had I imagined it? I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. The next day, I returned to the house, determined to confront whatever was haunting me. I gathered my courage and went back to the attic, but it was empty. The trunk was closed and the whispers had faded. I searched for Clara's journal, but it was gone, as if it had never existed. Days turned into weeks, and I tried to move on, but the memories haunted me. I could still hear the whispers at night, and sometimes I'd catch glimpses of shadows out of the corner of my eye. I became a prisoner in my own home, unable to escape the darkness that had seeped into my life. One stormy night I awoke to a loud crash. The power flickered, and I could feel an overwhelming presence in the room. I grabbed a flashlight and stepped out into the hallway, my heart racing. The whispers were back, louder than ever, filling the air with a chilling urgency. "Help us! Help us!" they cried, and I knew I had to leave. I raced down the stairs, but as I reached the front door, it slammed shut in my face. I turned to run back, but the shadows twisted around me, pulling me into their depths. I fought against them, screaming for help, but my voice was swallowed by the darkness. I felt Clara's presence beside me, her cold hand gripping mine. "You're one of us now," she whispered, and I realized the horrifying truth. I was trapped, just like her. As the darkness consumed me, I understood that the house at the end of Willow Lane was not just a home, it was a prison for lost souls. And now, I was one of them, forever bound to the whispers and shadows that haunted its halls. I tell you this not just as a warning, but as a plea. If you ever find yourself in Eldridge, avoid Willow Lane. The house is alive, and it craves new inhabitants. It will lure you in with its charm, but once you're inside, there's no escape. The whispers will call to you, and you'll find yourself trapped in a nightmare from which you can never awaken.